Hey guys, so today we are going to talk about taking a reaction in sentence format, and we are going to turn that into what you have seen where it's just chemical formulas and then you have to balance and identify them. So we're first going to focus on taking the words and writing it out. So this is incorporating what you learned in the nomenclature unit, okay? So in the very last unit, you learned that if you see the word magnesium, okay, that's just the element magnesium, and you write the formula. But let me show you how to pick apart the sentence so you will know what you need to actually write down below, because there's a lot of fluff in the problem, okay? So first of all, I see the word magnesium. I'm just going to circle all of the chemical names that I'm going to need to write down below. You don't necessarily have to do this for every single one. But as you get started, this is going to look really weird, so I'm just going to try to make this as obvious and as helpful as possible. It says the word metal. Some years, I want my students to write down the state of matter that something is in. When it says magnesium metal, it just means magnesium by itself. You can scratch the word metal out because that doesn't mean that you have to do anything with it. And then it says reacts with. Well, that means you have a second reactant. So we're going to need to put a plus there because you're going to have magnesium plus something else reacting. And it says liquid bromine. We can scratch out the liquid. And let's circle bromine because that's another reactant. And then it says to produce. What do you think you're going to need where it says to produce? It separates the reactants from the products. Yes, the arrow, which is kind of like an equals, but for chemistry we just make it an arrow. And then magnesium bromide. Okay, so this may be like super obvious to some of y'all, but it's not going to be obvious to everybody. So that's why I want to make sure we're going over this in detail. So magnesium, that's just our element. So that's going to just be Mg. Now, this is bromine, and that's the other reactant. But nonmetals, all of the nonmetals, unless it specifies otherwise, is going to be diatomic. All that means is, instead of just writing Br for bromine, you're going to give it a subscript of a 2. The reason is kind of complicated, but it's just, that's how they exist in nature, is 2 of them together. So bromine is going to be Br2. If the nonmetal is not diatomic, it will tell you in parentheses what the formula is. So then it says magnesium bromide. This is where you have to go and review what you knew from the last unit. All of these are going to be ionic. So magnesium and bromine, we're going to write the formulas. We have to look up our charges. Magnesium has a charge of a 2, and bromine has a charge of a 1. We switch those numbers, so magnesium bromide is MgBr2. So this is the only part where I feel like if y'all get hung up, it's going to be because you forgot to crisscross your charges. And then later, we're just going to focus on writing the formulas and the reaction. But later, whenever I have you guys work on balancing and identifying these, probably on Monday or tomorrow if you want to work on this Friday, then you are going to not be able to balance it if you wrote the wrong formulas. It won't work out. So just want to make sure that you know you need to be really careful about that. Okay, so let me pause it and see if y'all have any questions. All right, so let's try the next one. Let's go to number 2. So I'm going to scroll up and make sure we can see this on the video. I'm going to make this just a tad bigger because it looks a little tricky to see. All right, so we have copper 2 chloride. That's one name. Reacts with, what do we make for reacts with? A plus sign. Okay, so it's reacting with another reactant. Nickel metal. So we have nickel. The metal part is just what state of matter it's in. To produce. Now, that's our arrow. Copper metal. And, okay, the word and, we have something else forming. So that's going to be a plus. And then nickel 3 chloride. So it's not always going to say to produce this and produce this. Reacts with, this could have said copper 2 chloride and nickel react to produce. Okay, so you have to just kind of read into what it's saying. All right? Okay, so now we are going to write out the formulas. Copper 2 chloride. Copper is Cu, and the Roman numeral, remember that is our charge of our transition metal. Chloride is Cl with a charge of a 1. We switch those, and this becomes CuCl2. Reacts with nickel. Well, nickel is just Ni, and it's a metal, so we don't have to worry about the subscript of a 2. That's only for the nonmetals that are by themselves. And then we're producing copper, so just Cu, that's also a metal. And then nickel 3 chloride. So nickel again is Ni. We had a charge of a 3. We've got chlorine with a charge of a 1. When we switch that, it is NiCl3. Okay? Give me a thumbs up if y'all are understanding this enough. Keep your thumb up if you could, you could just go ahead and do this. Not everybody. So let's do one more for the video and make sure. So, all right, let me get this question. An announcement or in Canvas, I'll let you know tomorrow if I change the quantity that I want y'all to do, but I'm pretty sure I want you to do the whole thing. Okay? All right, so then number 3, moving on. We have barium chlorate. Y'all, this is polyatomic. You can get that polyatomic sheet out where you copy down all that pass box stuff. You can get that paper back out. Use it as your cheat sheet for this. You don't have to have these memorized, okay? So barium chlorate reacts with, that's a plus. Aqueous just tells us that it dissolves in water. And then cesium sulfate to produce, that's our arrow, cesium chlorate, and then barium sulfate, that's on the next line. So there's not just barium, it's barium sulfate. All right, so barium chlorate, just remember, I'm trying to get through this video, so barium is Ba. Let me back this up because I need to make sure it fits. So we have Ba. Chlorate, hold on, barium has a charge of a 2. Chlorate is ClO3 with a charge of a 1. When we switch this becomes that, okay? I'm going to move my plus down here so it's kind of all on a line. And then I'm going to move that too. And then we have cesium sulfate. So cesium sulfate is going to be Cs, charge is 1. Sulfate has a charge of 2, and it's SO4. So it's going to be CS2SO4. And remember, you're going to look up what all your polyatomic stuff is on your little chart that you copied as your reference. And that's producing 2 products. We have cesium chlorate, so CsClO3. Both have a charge of a 1, so it's just written just like this. Barium sulfate. Barium has a charge of 2. Sulfate, I'm just writing it over here, also has a charge of 2, so it's just BaSO4. The charges of 2 cancel, and we don't add anything in that formula. Okay? So that's this example. I'm going to do number 4 with y'all. Oh, I thought I didn't do any covalents. I think number 4 is the only covalent one that got left in here. I told you everything was ionic, so you look for charges. Number 4, we have sulfur. They tell us the formula. It's not diatomic. And hydrogen gas react to produce dihydrogen monosulfide and then gas. We'll scratch out gas. So this one is S8 plus hydrogen. Hydrogen is a nonmetal. All gases are nonmetals. I hope that context clue helped you out there. The hydrogen's on the left side of the periodic table. However, it's a nonmetal. So it's H2. React to produce dihydrogen monosulfide gas. So dihydrogen means there's 2 hydrogens. Monosulfide is 1 sulfur. But I don't think we're going to have any other, I really looked here to make sure I didn't do this to y'all. I don't think there's any other covalent names. So don't worry about all those prefixes. Okay? And so now I want you to work on that practice sheet.